Dun 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 FanDuel defenses. FanDuel, FanDuel defenses. Bam, 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 bam. Bam, 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 bam. You know that song, right?
Yeah.
Is that Inspector Gadget? Or that no, that's the Pink
No.
Panther. It's Pink Panther, right?
Inspector Gadget. God damn, Russ, come on.
Yeah. You know who's awesome? Leslie Nielsen. How's it going, everyone? Week 14 defenses for FanDuel. We are doing some in-depth analysis on Leslie Nielsen right now. Jason, have you ever seen Naked Gun?
Yes.
You know what the best scene in that movie is? When
What?
so they set it up for like 5 scenes where he's driving and he always crashes into something. And then he gets out and the car rides by him and almost runs him over. And the airbags are out. And oh, he's great. He's great. He's a great man.
I'm more of a.
Well, he
You
was.
seen Airplane?
I haven't. I just
Whoa.
I just got into him recently.
Oh, so
He's
definitely check that out. I'm pretty sure it's on Netflix.
really, it's a good one.
Yeah, it's a good one.
All right, I will definitely do that. As always, we do some cash game, we do some tournament, and we do a little moving and grooving and jiving, a little dancing, a little dance party between the plays, and give you a little analysis and such. So Vikings versus the Jags, 4,800. What say you? I'm gonna be a shock jock for the rest of the episode.
Okay. That's fair. But Minnesota.
Jason, you gonna talk about the
Yeah,
Vikings?
let me get into it here. If you haven't turned it off by now, look at Minnesota 4,800. Jags, offense really hasn't been that great this year. Bottom five offense in terms of points per game. Turned the ball over quite a bit, 2.1 this season. Team total under 20 this week. And obviously, we joked around last week on both of our pods about Blake Bortles throwing pick sixes off of people's foot, helmets, you name it. And it happened.
It did.
It happens. So I don't think we can guarantee that this week, but I think there's always pretty good odds of that happening with Blake Bortles. But Minnesota's a good kind of floor defense this week. They also have that high upside. 4,800 is not a bad price tag at all for them. I know you look at their recent stretch here over the last few games, but just have been in tough spots against tough opponents. So this sets up much better even on the road.
What do you think if Vegas set like a line on Blake Bortles pick six versus the Broncos? Like, do you think he would have been like minus 300? Like, I feel like he
No,
wouldn't have gotten good odds on that money.
it wouldn't have been good, but I don't think it would have been mine. It had to
No, it wouldn't.
like plus 300, plus
Yeah.
400.
Yeah. Like 3-1 or 4-1, like pretty good odds.
Yeah.
Yeah, against this Vikings team, definitely agree. 4,800 cash game. I dig. If you can get them for less than 5K against the Jags, definitely look for that. Bengals against the Browns. Sounds like RG3 might be in the fold here. You know what that means? First quarter injury to him, so he'll be out, and they'll be dealing with their backups by 3 minutes left in the first quarter. So is that what you're looking at here?
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't matter who starts for me. Under center there for Cleveland. I mean, they've been a team that's been awful this year. I mean, scoring 16.4 points per game. Another team total under 20 here. Bengals haven't played particularly well on defense this year, but they have been a little bit better of late, allowing just 16 points per game over the last three. So I definitely don't mind them. 5K is a little pricey for me. Would I pivot off the Vikings? Probably not. But if you are looking for another cash game defense, I do like Cincinnati here. You're going to get what you're going to get. You're going to get a nice 7-point floor facing the Browns and also have that upside as well.
Yeah, I feel like Hugh Jackson just cries a single tear, like they used to have in those like Protect the Earth commercials. Like every loss, it's just like Hugh. Do you really want to see Hugh Jackson cry again, guys? In here for Hugh, big Hugh guy here, and pretty sad. Pretty
I
sad
like
to
Hugh
see him.
Jackson.
Yeah, he's a good guy, man. I want to see him succeed. It just stinks that They're coming around, just like the 76ers. It's going to happen one of the next 10 years for sure.
Yeah.
Steelers, GPP, 4,500, fairly cheap against the Bills and their running game. I'm not being a shock jock right now, but what do you got for me?
They've been sneaky good of late. Like Steelers defense, I mean, obviously we saw that big upside game against the Browns, which was a big part of it. But I mean, scoring the fifth most fantasy points per game over the last three outings. I mean, generating nearly 2 turnovers per game in that span. They have the seventh best points per game allowed this year, which was kind of surprising. But 4,500, this is kind of a targetable defense right now. And I know the offense for the Bills has been rolling, hasn't made it really a great target because, McCoy's been solid. But Pittsburgh, a really good front seven. They do have their issues in the secondary, but outside of Sammy Watkins, who isn't even at full health, no one really scares me here. They're ninth against the run. And you just look at this one, I mean, 22 team totals kind of flirting with, possibly looking at some shots, possibly not against them, but I can't really see anyone in a good spot where I feel good enough to play anyone from Buffalo. So I think Pittsburgh, there is a decent upside there. The pressure certainly has been there over the last 4 or 5 weeks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they've got some good players going in terms of young players that are kind of emerging. So I certainly agree there. Could force Tyrod into some interesting situations. Detroit Lions against the Bears. Matt Barkley, already has 2 red zone interceptions, tied for second in the league. So,
I mean, Detroit's been actually pretty damn good of late. Like that defense has turned around. And like obviously we saw last week against Drew Brees, I mean 3 interceptions. Who saw that coming? I don't think anyone did. But I mean that shows. I mean their corners have actually stepped up and played pretty well. I mean their only real weak spot is against the slot right now. But they're allowing 15 points per game, generating over 2 turnovers over the last 5 weeks. Have been very solid at home where this game is at. Backup offense there, outside of Jordan Howard. Not particularly thrilled with any of these guys going up against guys like, Darius Slay, who's, a solid corner that I don't really like the target. If Minnesota wasn't 200 more, I think, Detroit's a borderline cash game defense this week. Chicago sits with one of the lower totals on the board. So I think for value, I think a great upside play here for Detroit. I hope they get a little bit overlooked in tournaments, but I like their potential.
you said something that really stuck out to me. You sort of like made it sound like everyone played Drew Brees last week. Like he was a bad play.
Russ,
Anyway, the Colts, against the Texans, things really falling off for the Texans as we go through the season. Brock Osweiler being their quarterback just totally crushed their team. I mean, it really did. It's fairly simple beyond that. They have every piece to be a playoff team, but Brock Osweiler is just so bad. So is that kind of your thinking with the Colts D here?
Yeah, I mean, he's awful. I mean, we saw last night what happened when Colts play awful teams with awful quarterbacks. I mean, they were to get up, and I like the Colts offense this week. I mean, and Vegas does too. They're near touchdown favorites. Is Brock Osweiler as bad as Bryce Petty or, Ryan Fitzpatrick? Yeah, I think he is. I mean, his numbers are horrible. They're scoring just 13 points per game on the road. Indy's been surprisingly, kind of stingy on defense. They've had a bend don't break mentality over the last few weeks. They've gotten healthy here. Vontae Davis is obviously going to be a guy who is going to need to see DeAndre Hopkins and who hasn't really been particularly targeted a lot. I really do think there's some reasonable upside here, and I don't even think the floor is all that bad if you need to save some cash. Maybe if you like a play better at running back or wide receiver and you need to bump up someone. I really don't mind the Colts here.
I think that's an interesting call, and they weren't really on my mind, going into the week. But I do think that's a pretty interesting play, at least in tournaments. And I guess my question is, if you make a lineup with the Colts D, Are you looking to use luck or Gore, or are you not necessarily looking to come around on the other side with that?
I like luck this week. I think Houston's been trending in the wrong direction in terms of a pass defense. I mean, they've been skewered through the air over the last few games. So I like luck. I like Hilton. I'm not a big Gore guy this week, which probably means he's going to go off for 15 plus FanDuel points. But um, I'm more in on the passing game.
Fair enough. Anything you want to throw out there before we head out for another potentially fun week of DFS?
Yeah, I mean, pay up at defense. It's what you need to do. I
Pay
mean,
up
there's
at
a difference
defense.
between 8 to 12 FanDuel points and 4. There really is. It's make or break with all these cut lines lately.
You heard it here first, folks. Pay up or you suck. So thanks for tuning in. As always, if you like these videos, give us a like and subscribe. If you want to read Jason's article, certainly head over to dailyfantasycafe.com. Check out our tools while you're there. And then have some fun this weekend. Play some DFS. Have some fun. We will see you guys next week.